What is illegal, but completely moral? Whistleblowing. It's sad how quickly we've forgotten people who have thrown away their careers and often risked their lives to share confidential information that's exposed wrongdoing. And then we make a movie about it. Appreciate how well written the movie was and how someone should do something about how ducked up the government is only to get back to our usual lives like nothing has changed. As Mr. Peanut Butter once said, the universe is a cruel and caring void. The key to being happy isn't to search for meaning. It's to just keep yourself busy with unimportant nonsense. And eventually, you'll be dead. Pirating content that has been abandoned and can't even be purchased anymore. An out of print book. Or a game that isn't sold anymore. In the city my mom used to live in, it was illegal to give rides to people at a bus stop. My mom stopped and gave a ride to a woman who was running to catch a bus and missed it. The police pulled her over and told her it was illegal because people were using their cars to undercut the city buses. I'm not sure why it had to be a law. I get the safety aspect, but it seems like the whole purpose was to write tickets and keep people riding the city bus. At least in my city. Feeding the homeless. Why is that illegal? It's illegal in my city because we have so many and they frequent the tourist areas. The local university recently did a study and found examples of people making more than $500 a day and found several that had homes and were making money panhandling. That was the end of that. The law was passed last year. There are meters and drop boxes you can put money into if you want to help feed the homeless. The money goes to the homeless shelters. If you get caught giving the homeless money, you will both go to jail. Buying a beer for a guy who lost an arm in Afghanistan. He's 18. That's so ducking stupid. Young enough to risk your life and lose an arm. But not old enough to drink. My house rule: if you're old enough to die for your country, you're old enough to have a beer. Disconnecting from the power grid in certain areas is illegal. Is that just illegal to prevent shoddy DIY disconnection? Or is it forbidden to have a house not connected to the power grid? Using solar energy for free. Spain is different. Wait a minute, it's illegal to use solar energy in Spain? Nah, it's not. But let's say you buy panels and use them. You have to pay for the electricity that they produce equals. No free sun in Spain. Pirating legally mandated technical standards such as building codes that are paywalled. If everyone is expected to follow the law, everyone should have free access to all of the content of the law. The people who write the copyrighted text of the building code need to be paid for their work. Fine. When the govt adopts the building code as law, it should be treated like eminent domain and the authors should be paid by the taxpayers, same as the taxpayers pay when the government takes land to build a road. Only in this case they are taking a copyrighted work. Cannabis. At this point most people understand that prohibition does not work. Wild camping in England. There is nothing wrong with it and people do it all the time. Best part about public land in USA. If you're on national forest land you can camp pretty much wherever you want. There are rules that need to be followed, sure, but there are so many places you can camp for free. Some schools have a policy where if you and your friend are both drunk, and one of you needs medical attention, the other can call for help without getting in trouble through school policies, like underage drinking, etc. However, on the opposite side, if the school doesn't have this rule, if you turn your friend in to get medical attention, you can also get in trouble via school policies. This causes a couple people to think twice before helping your friend, which is completely ludicrous. It's illegal to turn right at a red light in my city, but it's fine everywhere else in the province. Yeah, Montreal is trash. Lol. Eating a Kinder Egg in the US. Because choking has it on kids who just shove it all in their mouth. Can BP don't care if you smuggle them into the US though. Yeah, they do. They have specifically asked me if I had any Kinder Eggs before when crossing the border between Canada and the US in a car. Planting vegetables in your front yard instead of growing grass. Collecting and storing rainwater. I once got a fine because I hadn't mowed the grass in the front yard in 4 weeks because I was on vacation. That wouldn't have been a problem if nobody was home. But since my mother was home, it's our obligation to keep the street tidy and beautiful. There's just a little problem. My mother is disabled. She couldn't mow the ducking grass. Collecting rainwater. Where is that illegal? My mistake. Looks like a lot has changed. Utah and Oregon have strict regulations on it, and it can be illegal if you don't do it to their standards. Everywhere else seems to have a taxation method attached to it. Figures. Pissing against a tree. If you are in the wilderness, it's legal as long as you're at least 200 feet from water. USA public lands. I mean, where the hell else are you gonna piss? My dad is a criminal defense lawyer, and one of his recent clients is being tried for food stamp fraud because he had to take food stamps in exchange for cash or non-food stampable goods, such as alcohol, in order to keep his job. The dude didn't get anything out of it. He just operated the till and didn't want to lose his job. What the duck is a random Iraqi immigrant supposed to do in that situation? Removing DRM from DVDs, music, etc. that you bought, so you can play it on devices you own. I buy a DVD while on holiday. It's region locked, so I can't play it when I get home. But if I dare to try and remove that region locking on something that I own, I'm in the wrong. How about when we buy something, we can ducking use it? Similar thing. I would gladly pay for something like Netflix if it meant I had access to the content. But in Spain I don't get that. I have to wait for shitty dubs of things months behind the rest of the world. I remember when Game of Thrones was on season 4 in English. We only just got season 2. So I pirated. That's illegal, yet no legal method is offered to get it. Torrenting an EA game. I always get a sense of pride and accomplishment from that. A huge reminder that just because something is law, that doesn't make it right. A reverse reminder that just because something is immoral does not mean it should be illegal. This story happened when I was growing up. A guy liked a girl. She was very beautiful and everyone liked her. The guy and the girl had a passive friendship which just included nice hellos. One day he tells her that he really liked her and that he would like her to be his girlfriend. She refused and told him that she didn't like him that way, and they go their separate ways. All good, right? Hell nah. The guy mobilizes his friends and himself, making 5 in total. Waited for her at a place she walked regularly and gang raped her. Girl refuses to come out of her house for months, and we later found that they had to have someone with her at all times so she wouldn't kill herself. The moral but illegal part? Her brother joins a cult group, or if you're American, a gang. This gives him backing and access to weapons, and he uses his newly found resources to locate and kill 4 of the 5 guys. The last one was caught for another crime and was in prison for a while. I tell you, hell hath no fury like a brother on a revenge mission for his only sister. He waits patiently for the guy to finish his sentence. Finds out his release date, and once he was released, they tracked him and gutted him. Then hacked him to pieces. It took him about 3 years to get each one, but he got all of them. Sorry for the wall of text. Shooting or beating up a house intruder. No joke, people broke into houses, got beat up by the people living there, and then sued the house owners for monetary compensation. Having a drink on your own front porch. In Tennessee, even though it's rarely enforced, I've seen it used by police to just pile on charges when someone in a domestic dispute rubbed them the wrong way. Illegally downloading research journal manuscripts. I'm literally trying to advance science and you're charging me for it. Charging for content that was more than likely paid for in advance with public funds. Possibly more than once. Breaking a window to get a dog out of a hot car. In Milwaukee and Chicago, it's illegal for any female to live W more than 2 other females, unless they're related. WTF. Yup. I've been told it has to deal with old brothel regulations. I worked in a court for about a decade. One time, mid-December, A homeless man was brought in for arraignment for stealing. He was cold and came across one of those dumpsters that people can throw clothing donations in. He jumped in and dug through everything until he found a coat. He took only the coat and nothing else. An officer driving by saw him climbing out of the bin and made contact. The man admitted to taking the coat and was arrested and booked on theft charges. He subsequently was found guilty and given a fine that he could clearly never pay. I realize the act of theft is illegal in itself, but I felt like this should have been an exception. The whole purpose of those donation bins is for the items to go to people in his exact situation. Treating a child without the parent's consent. Scenario normally goes: kids are at soccer practice and the child gets drop kicked in the face. Non-emergency care, medical professional is there, normally a parent of a teammate, and treats the kid. Technically, this practice is illegal because the child is under 18 and needs verbal written consent from the legal guardian. Putting money in other people's parking meters is illegal. I don't know if it's illegal, but when I reached the 5 limit download on songs I purchased from iTunes, I started downloading them for free from less than reputable sites. Eating food drinks from a grocery store that are supposed to be thrown away may not be illegal, but will get you fired or wrote up. Pirating games when it's impossible to purchase them legally, region locking, or you already own a copy for one platform and want it on another. Being illegal to pirate it on another platform makes sense though. They are two different pieces of software, both of which take money to develop. In the city my brother lives in, it's illegal for women to drink coffee after 6 p.m. They don't enforce that law, but it is in the law books. Hacking into Chster and making all academic journals freely accessible for all. In several states it's illegal to buy milk from a dairy farmer. Why? Because it's unpasteurized? Yeah, and I'm guessing you aren't qualified to inspect the dairy's safety and health compliance. As a kid, my dad would trade with dairies around our farm, green beans, corn, potatoes for all milk. I loved it. But then my dad was qualified to judge the dairy's cleanliness. Z. Paying someone else's parking meter if you notice they are about to run out. Selling your own organs. Honestly, I think if people could choose to sell their own organs legally, like a kidney or liver, that they don't need for their own survival, and insurance companies paid the organ donor, the transplant list would be a lot shorter. Biking on the sidewalk. I've never heard of a driver saying gosh, I wish bikes would bike in the road. Cause that's the law. True as that is, I've been nearly hit by a few cars making a turn as I bike on the sidewalk. Drivers generally watch for moving vehicles on the road. Rightfully so, and when one is zooming down the sidewalk where the car tries to turn, things can get ugly.